I'll be walking through how to effectively use social media as a real estate agent. Kind of emceeing and helping on the event is Dwayne Smith on our team. Dwayne helped organize everything and set this up. Yes, Patricia, this will be recorded, assuming that I clicked the right button this time, which I believe that I did, Dwayne. So on the last time we did this a few weeks ago, I did not quite get it started. But again, my name is Kurt Euler. We're going to be walking through how to effectively use social media as a real estate agent. And it's much more than listings. And we're going to walk through why social media doesn't work for so many agents. I've coached this huge amount of agents that had tried social in other ways. They even paid agencies to do it and it just didn't work for them. So we're going to walk through a little bit of why things don't work for some agents, but specifically what you need to do. If you have questions during any of this, just leave them in the chat and Dwayne will help to organize everything. And he may break in and we may answer any of the questions, some of the questions during the talk, or we will make sure that we answer it when we come to the full Q&A section. But if you have a question while I'm talking through things, Dwayne's that moderator. And so just feel free to pop it in the chat. And I may also just work it into, I want this to be interactive. So if you guys have questions, let me know. So a little bit, I also offer this as an ebook. So it's like the why I created this. I kind of alluded to it, but it's like I've seen so many agents not be successful. And so I created this guide and this training series to show, as an effective social media marketing guide to help agents cut through the noise. And there's a lot of noise, and we'll talk through why some of that noise exists and to find what real success looks like. As an agent, you're inundated by marketing experts that if you actually dig underneath and you go read their bios, they don't have a track record of marketing success for either things they've done themselves or with companies that actually lets them make the claims that they're making. So they never deliver, and it really hurts my heart to see agents and talk to agents that they chase these tips, these systems, these blueprints that will never help them in the end, and they may actually hurt your sphere of influence. And as agents, you need a system that's based on proven results. It's going to help you generate results. So this guide is going to walk you through the why behind the what. I'm not going to tell you just what to do. I'm going to tell you why these things matter, because the what tends to actually become very clear in life when we know what our beliefs are and we know what the why is. So this guide, it's been used by thousands of individuals and companies to grow their sphere of influence, both within real estate and elsewhere. And it's time for you as an agent to find real success in business and in life. So that's kind of my goal. It's why I'm in business. I don't have to work anymore at this point. And I've been at the forefront of a lot of technology. So we're going to walk through what works for you. So in the end, what I want for you, and keep in mind, for those that are on here that are Showcase Idea customers, we don't sell tools related to social media. This is just stuff to help you. We don't benefit from anything on the social media side unless your agent website just grows because of this. So by following this social media system that I'm going to walk you through, though, it's really going to help you get the results that top real estate agents have seen using this system, that new agents find. It's going to help you find early success. And that's a big deal for me. These two, they're very different. If you're a top agent and you have hundreds of leads coming in, it matters if you get a few more. Of course, 10% more of your business, 20% more of your business, that's great. And the system has been used to help agents grow that way. And I want to do that. But for me, there's also this part that says as a new agent, God, you've been a part-time agent, you're becoming full-time, you're moving into real estate from another career, and this is where you're jumping in at. That sphere of influence is so important. And so if you don't get social media and this hyper-local expertise right, well, for that top agent, when they lose a lead that they could have got on Facebook or Twitter, that's not as big of a deal. But for a new agent, that could make the difference between paying rent this month or this quarter versus not paying their mortgage. And so that's a big deal. And so I've seen both top agents be really successful, but really new agents or people that are getting started in social media find that early success that helps them come in and establish themselves as a hyper-local expert to the people that might have known them before as an accountant or a school teacher or whatever their career was. And I've seen established agents been able to 5x their commissions, their GCI, with this guide and what I've walked through and taught people before. So the stats, like why are, where are we going to? Well, 77, if you talk to NAR, they claim 77% of realtors actively use social media from real estate in some way, shape, or form. But the number that are successful is a fraction. I'd be surprised if it's higher than just a couple of percent, but it's single digits. Because 77% use something because you have a Facebook account. I'm sure you've mentioned you're an agent at some point. So a lot of times when I dig into that data with an organization like NAR, I find that a number like that is kind of inflated. But also, most agents, if you go look at feeds on Instagram or Facebook pages, God, what is it? They're doing the same stuff over and over. And we're going to talk about that. They're posting a new listing, an open house, and a close. And so I'd say even if the number is 77%, they're not doing it well. There's only a few percent that are doing it really well, and they're succeeding. Next, 47% of real estate businesses note that social media results in the highest quality leads versus other sources. And so the other piece that comes in really close to there is it's in the 40s as well. And sometimes I see these go number one to number two, they'll change, is their website. Because if somebody searches for you, they search for condos in St. Louis and your website comes up, man, you are a hyper-local expert there. Well, that's a super quality lead. That's why Google organic search works so well. On the other side here for social, for the people that find you because you're talking about real estate or business or things that keep you top of mind, that's why 47% of agents see social media being super high quality leads. Both traffic, organic traffic to your website and social media traffic are way higher quality leads than paying for ads. Now, there's a place to pay for ads, and I like paid media, but I mean, paid media, I mean, yes, there are lead generation companies that'll get you a lead for $5 or less. Some like Sync, they'll claim it's $3 to $10 depending on the market. But the quality of those leads is generally very poor as opposed to the leads you get from social. And I mean, you guys know this, not just millennials, Gen Z, and all 99% of millennials, 90% of baby boomers begin their home search online. And so whether it's from organic search on Google or finding your website through social, 99% of the people out there, what do you want to do? If you're not working in digital media well, you're fighting over the scraps, the 1% that are not finding homes that way. And a lot of times that's truly luxurious markets. So see, if you have questions on that, let me know as you come through. And so with this, the reason that real estate, and I think you just need to change your frame of reference for how real estate is typically approached on social media. So often there are people that come in, there are tools that'll set up that'll take your new listings posted to the MLS and they'll just share them out to Facebook and Twitter. And that's good. But I think the bigger thing is from a digital marketing perspective, I want you as an agent or as a broker or as a team lead, I want you to think about there are only two valuable assets. There's a lot of small things, but if you want to put in two big categories, the two most valuable assets that you have are your personal brand and your contact database. And I know that because I get brought in by a lot of MLSs, a lot of real estate associations, and some other even just SaaS companies to come talk to agents. And I'll ask the question when I'm there. I could be at Pinellas in Florida, and I'll be speaking to a room of dozens or even hundreds of agents, and I'll ask them, like, how many of you have been in business at least 5 years? Hands go up. At least 10 years. Hands stay up. I'm like, all right, how many brokerages have you been a part of? Of course, hands always go up. NAR says on average, people change brokerages every 4 to 5 years. That's been about the number for the last 4 years consistently. I think maybe even the last 5. Well, and I'll ask people in the audience, and I'll go, well, when you change brokerages, did it feel like you were starting over? Like you were excited, but it was so hard to kind of re-keep your leads going. And almost every hand stays up. And the reason behind that is too many people, they haven't established their personal brand. So that could be something as simple as not having just a subdomain website at the agent. It could mean, kurteuler.kw.com. Well, what happens if I'm no longer at KW and I move to Remax or Coldwell Banker? Well, if my clients were used to going to that KW site, well, they don't find me anymore. So there's a lot behind that. In some cases, contact databases, it's really hard to export your data sometimes. And so that's another reason where it feels like people are starting over. So once I find that agents, they've figured out how to kind of do that counseling part with couples and with home buyers and sellers. And we know there's a lot of emotions involved when somebody's buying and selling a home, and there's other people involved. Well, that's a big bit. And there's a huge bit of knowledge around the transaction. But beyond that, the marketing wheel, this funnel wheel that just continues to feed itself, is based around your personal brand and your contact database. So when you change brokerages, if you do these things right, if you have things like a personal brand, like a website that backs that up, social media profiles that people are used to seeing you on, and you happen to change where your shingle is held, well, it doesn't feel that different anymore because you're able to make that change for your business as you see fit for you and keep the momentum that you've already been building. So that's one of the reasons that I like social media so well and why it's so successful for agents, not just in the 30-day, 60-day time period, but really it changes business over the 2-year, 5-year standpoint. Because we know a lot of agents change brokerages and change teams. So I want to make sure you're successful then. With that, I'm big on simplifying things. And so the biggest thing that I kind of like to think about is there's really only 2 types of content when you're posting on social media. Now, there's a lot of small pieces, and we'll get into some specific examples. And as we walk through this, I want to be very tactical and show you the types of things you can do. But at the highest level, there's just 2 types of content. Think about this from a consumer. Imagine you're not an agent, you're not a broker, you haven't been a team lead, and you're a consumer. And you follow Kurt Euler on Facebook or on Twitter or LinkedIn. There's only 2 types of content that are relevant to you. Content for when you as a consumer, when you're actively buying and selling, and content when you're not actively buying and selling. And so too much of real estate marketing, whether it's emails or social or anything that people work on, they tend to focus just on the actively buying and selling clients. And that's important. I mean, that's what's going to pay the bills today. But let's look at the markets around the United States. So, a lot of times, I'll ask agents, I'm like, how often do somebody that buys a home, how often do they kind of move into their next home work with you? Sometimes in really hot markets, it's every 5 years. Some cases it's 10 years. And we know there's always people that are longer, but it seems like country average is around 10. So 8 to 10, that is. Well, if I'm your client and I'm following you on Facebook, or we've had a relationship, you helped me buy my home, 8, 9 years ago, I'm not looking to buy and sell right now. So as I get closer to that average, I get closer to buying and selling. Now I start caring about buying and selling. But you've known me for 10 years. So when I get a newsletter from you once a month from content from your website, things that are working on you, if all the information that's in your newsletter is content that's relevant to people that are buying and selling, I have unsubscribed by the time I'm looking to buy and sell next. And so good luck on getting me back as a client. Instead, when those newsletters are going out, when your social media feeds contain content that is relevant for people that are buying and selling, but also includes content when people are not actively buying and selling, then you're going to engage them for the rest of that time. So in the 10-year example, if on average in your market, somebody changes homes every 10 years, well, that means if you have a 10-year relationship with them, that means 90% of the time that they're working with you, 9 out of those 10 years, they're not actively buying and selling, figuring it takes 3 to 6 months to buy a home and sell one. So 1 year out of the 10 years you knew them, are they actively buying and selling? Now, does that mean that 90% of your content needs to be not for focus on those not actively buying and selling? I'm not sure it needs to be that high. I just want you to be very aware of most of your past clients, most of your sphere of influence. If you're a new agent, most of the people that you're aware of are not actively buying and selling. So we want to make sure that we're feeding them content for when they're not actively buying and selling. With that said, when they're selling, things like open houses, things about what's the difference between a buyer's agent and a seller's agent, that's hyper relevant when somebody's actively buying and selling. And so these are 2 big categories, but it's amazing just when I see agents just latch on to this and hold it very, very key to them. That single change in mindset helps them think about before they click send, they go, God, have I just been posting stuff about like for active buyers and sellers? That one change will help. We're going to walk into some of the details behind it though. So let's think about the specifics now. Let's start to dive into it. What's the content for when your clients are actively buying and selling? So you have a client, they follow you on Facebook, Twitter, maybe LinkedIn, could even be Pinterest, all different networks, people on them for different reasons. Well, when they're actively buying and selling, what's of interest to them? Property photos. You just listed a home, property photos are of interest. You just listed a home in their neighborhood. What does the upgraded bathroom look like down the street? Those are of interest. Success stories and client testimonials, very important when I'm actively buying and selling as a consumer, because whether you like it or not as an agent, you're being vetted. So hopefully you have a website powered by Showcase IDX, so they're not searching on Zillow. But if your clients are using Zillow, you know that another agent's in the mix because Zillow is making billions of dollars selling their information. So you're always being vetted in some way. So when somebody's looking to buy and sell, those success stories, client testimonials, that's key. So one of the examples I like to give here too is I've got a gentleman in my sphere of influence here in Roswell named Alan. Alan, he's on the top video influencers for BombBomb. Alan, he brings in client success stories, and he doesn't show the client. But I found myself for the last maybe year and a half to 2 years watching two videos of his, one like 11 minutes, one in 14 minutes, not because I'm in real estate, but because he intrigued me with the client story, the success story. One was he had somebody that came to them and I'm an angel investor. I make investments in various companies across the country. I'm part of some venture capital funds. So as an angel investor, they had written, I think it was a $25,000 or $50,000 check to a medical marijuana company. So completely legit at the federal level, to invest in. But because of some of the banking regulations, it caused all sorts of flags, and some of the banks were throwing out the things. And so Alan, he never disclosed who it was, but he pointed out his whole thing was, hey, if you make investments, angel investments, did you ever think that the investment you make in a company could affect whether or not you get a mortgage on either your main house or an investment house or anything else? And he walked through some of the details like that because it was a shock to him. He wouldn't have thought about it. This was a venture-backed capital-backed company at this point. Somebody had written a $25,000 or $50,000 check. Now they were having issues with the mortgage. Whoa, never thought about it. Hugely valuable to me, actually, both if I was looking to buy, but also when I'm not. As well as he pinged me at another time, just with a Facebook notification that came through that he was helping somebody who going back asking for past addresses. And guys, look, well, for the last 3 months, I've lived here. And before that, I was incarcerated. So guy had made a complete change in his life. Alan, I had talked to him and it was like, he's kind of telling this guy's story about, gosh, like, how do you give a hand back? How do you help somebody that's of use or, that is a valuable person, a person of character that acknowledges their mistakes? And how do you help them go forward? Because clearly that's going to have issues when you're getting a mortgage because you don't have credit history for so much of that time period as well. And so he very smallly did he mention it just about this person formerly being incarcerated, and he kind of walked through from a heart perspective about how do we help people in our community that are coming out of a situation like that. That's like a 14-minute video, and I watched every second of it. And afterwards, I actually went, I'm not sure that's how I meant to prioritize my day, but it also reminded me then that he was a mortgage broker. So I'm sure he got a referral or two just from that top of mind from it. Works the same way for your success stories. I've heard some of the same type of stories from agents that have helped people in different circumstances. And so that's of interest. And any of us that are part of Lab Coat Agents or Real Closers on Facebook, we've seen these stories. So I know that you have them too. Company milestones, hugely important for people that are buying and selling. You've been in business for 5 years, 10 years. You just helped somebody close on the 250th transaction you've ever worked on. Those are milestones that are great that if I'm buying and selling, I might want to see come across my feed. New listings and properties, also great when I'm actively buying and selling, whether it's specifically the property that I might be interested in, but it's also valuable because it shows me that you know my local market. Maybe I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but you're listing 4-bedroom and 5-bath, but it's down the street. It's good information for when I'm actively buying and selling. Open houses, and I want you to think about open houses for a few different reasons. One, because I'm actively buying and selling, and so I might want to go to the open house, but I'm also a nosy neighbor. And so chances are I'm selling my house as well. And so The open houses are also of interest. So keep in mind how you tailor your social media posts about, hey, it may just be a neighbor that wants to come by. It may just be that, hey, a house on the street goes by and I want to go see what that upgraded bathroom looks like. Then another type of content that's highly valuable is community pages from your website. These are detailed pages that include IDX data for home listings and valuable information. So it's not just the IDX listings. It's your knowledge as a hyperlocal expert combined with IDX data, like from Showcase IDX, on a page on your website, and you share that out. Because that's good for touching me when I'm buying and selling, because one, it helps me vet that, oh, you actually know that the region's near me, but it also helps to bring me in if that's an area I'm looking at. And so I just got off a call where it was brought up that, like, I'm in one of those neighborhoods, Bristol Oaks in Roswell, Georgia. I'd say at least every other month, if not every month, I see on our neighborhood Facebook group, somebody post, hey, is anybody looking at buying and selling? I have friends that want to move in the neighborhood. If you're the agent that's sharing and you have a hyper local page on Bristol Oaks, you're going to have visitors that are coming to that. That's going to be really relevant there. Now let's think about content that's valuable when your clients are not actively buying and selling. And so we can give you these slides later, and I would think about them as a checklist. You need to figure out what the split needs to be between these two for content focus at clients when they are selling and buying versus when they're not. And I'd say maybe it's 20 to 30% when they are, content for when they're actively buying and selling, maybe as low as 10%, depending on where you're at in your business. And then you want to focus the bulk of it on this type of content. Now, again, property photos is interesting here. You saw it on the last list, but it's interesting to me as a consumer when I'm not actually buying and selling for different reasons. So, and I want you to think about that. You may still be sharing a property photo, but it doesn't have to be just tied to a listing. Before, it's probably going to be tied to a listing. In this case, it may be a photo you've taken. It may also be something you got off a website like Unsplash. Unsplash.com. They're commercial usage, royalty-free photos that you can use. So you can just go and look for bathrooms and find a series of photos that you can use on your own social media. And then you get to share about that. But especially if it is local or property photos, if I'm not actively buying and selling, I still may be looking at doing things in my house. So we have a storage area in our finished basement. That's this one storage room is not finished off, but it is stubbed out for a bathroom. So we're going to be putting a bathroom in there before long. So sometime this year. So if you are an agent, and even though I'm not actively buying and selling, if you're sharing some bathroom photos, my wife's probably going to be of interest because she's taking the lead on that project for the house. Unique successful stories. I mentioned when Alan had shared that story. Those are still useful here, even when I'm not actively buying and selling. So you might change the type of story depending on which category you want to put it into. Local events are of interest. I'm going to keep using a local example for me. I've lived in many parts of the country, lived in Chicago for a decade. I felt like I lived on a plane for much of that. I live in Roswell, Georgia now. So when we're not in COVID, we have Alive After 5. They block off part of downtown Canton Street. The restaurants all open up. It's almost a big block party for about 4 or 5 blocks. Much of the community comes out. We get to meet new neighbors, stop by a coffee shop, visit some restaurants. Well, I forget to go a lot of times. So why do I go? Because the agent that sold us our house, Bobby posts about it or Bobby texts me about it. So from a social media perspective, even just that post, if you were here in Roswell, reminding about the local event, or if you're actually there, all you have to do is just pull out your phone, do a live on Facebook or Instagram, and do a quick little review and be like, hey, I'm at Alive After 5 today, and here's what's going on. We have a band, and like, it could be 30 seconds. It could be 3 minutes. It could be 10 minutes, but you're already there. And that's content about a local event that you know, because you're a hyper-local expert. And every time you show up in my feed and I'm not actively buying and selling, it reinforces to me 2 things. One, you know my area. And then because I'm still seeing the other content, and you're a local real estate expert. So if I have questions, well, I'm more likely, one, to come to you with them. So I mentioned on the bathroom. So besides, I do work in real estate, but I always try to seek wise counsel. So my wife and I text message Bobby and said, hey, this is what we're thinking about doing. Here's what we're thinking about spending on the bathroom. What do you think this is going to look like from an investment in our house? So leave a comment in the chat. What do you think he said? Is it going to be a good investment for us to finish off a storage area and convert it to a bathroom in our house, to add a fourth bathroom into the house? What do you think he said? Yes. Yes, Roger. He said yes. And he gave us a little more details, and that was good. But he also gave us some more market information. Wonderful for that. And so, because he's top of mind, I also want to hear, if I'm not actively buying and selling, a lot of times people want to hear your journey, your content from your journey. What works so often well on social media are entrepreneurs, and every agent's an entrepreneur, is when you share the highs and some of the lows and the struggles. And so let me in on that. Let me know behind the scenes what it's like to look like a little bit. I mean, I've now actually gotten to be friends with some people that were influencers before on social media because they were sharing about their content or their journey in becoming a coach. I know a lot of the coaches at Buffini's program, and spoken to them. And so I've connected with some of those because they share about what that journey looks like as a coach, especially if they shifted from pure agent into that coaching role. And so that content can connect with people, especially if they're an entrepreneur or own a business as well. Home tips and renovation ideas, tons of sense there. Industry and market news. And it doesn't have to be just pointing out that the Z estimate is a completely made up number. But there's information that's interesting in that. I mean, I even think about probably on Sunday, I think it was, we just passed MLK Day. On Sunday, I noticed I think it was Lab Coat Agents, it could have been Real Closers, an agent asking about, about their unique market, whether they thought it was going to, shift from a buyer's market into a seller's market. And so like agents, everyone's asking each other that. Your clients want to know information like that as well. They want to know what that even means. And I think about that as I mentioned, hey, before somebody decides that they're actively buying and selling, they've started to think about that. If it's a couple, they've probably one of the two thought about it 3 to 6 months before they even broached the subject with the other one. Well, don't you think it would be useful for one of your past clients to know if they're thinking about buying and if they're thinking about selling their home and buying something else in 2 to 3 years, but as an agent that things are likely to shift in your market in the next 6 to 12 months, don't you think that might influence their knowledge? Well, they may not directly reach out to you because then, most agents are going to hound them. But if instead you just share that little bit of knowledge about, hey, here's what I'm starting to see things happen in the local market, I'm probably going to pick up my phone and go, hey, can you tell me more about that? We thought we were going to hold off for 2 to 3 years, but I'm hearing that something might change, and maybe now is the time to do that. And then I have a question mark on this last one. Personal content. Do you show pictures of your kids? Do you show pictures of your spouse, your friends? Do you show pictures? Mention if you're out at that Alive After 5 event that they do weekly here in Roswell. Do you post pictures of yourself there? That's entirely up to you. So if you follow me on Instagram, just at Kurt Euler, or on Twitter, even on LinkedIn, you're going to see I share some personal things, but I don't share a whole lot. That's okay. I know some people that do very well and they're completely okay sharing a lot. And I'm completely okay if you don't share personal content. But that personal content is going to endear you more. It's going to connect you more. So I mentioned that in terms of social media. Now, while the agent that sold us our house, Bobby, while he's not on social media, we chose Bobby for one reason. Bobby works primarily with couples in their mid 20s to late 30s, sometimes early 40s, that have young kids that primarily go to one of 2 churches in Roswell, Georgia. That's pretty much what he does. He has 2 other agents that they actually share leads. They almost own the churches from how much they work with people. But they don't work with singles. They don't, and not that they may not help a client here or there, but Bobby knew the questions to ask me because my wife and I were about to have a kid. So we have an 18-month-old now. We're completely different than somebody else different. Well, when we got connected to him, Bobby pointed out part of his personal story. He goes, I was exactly where you were 30 years ago. And now here's my wife, and my wife actually knew their kids growing up. Well, that was part of the personal story that just, not only was it the niche that he focused on, he pointed out his personal story. And so that was one of the reasons we chose him. So you can do that in your social feed as well and do it at scale. So now we talked about the type of content to be created. Let's talk about now what the foundations of success. So it's one thing to know what you need to share, but so often I find what holds people back in real estate, being successful in the real estate businesses, is operations. So, I mean, everything about running a transaction, it's operations. Everything about working your sphere of influence, it's about operations. Well, real estate, social media is all about operations as well. And I kind of mentioned it. I believe in being consistent, and simplifying things. And so we're going to simplify this down to three things. And that first is you need to create consistent content. Now, you may have already seen this. You may have already downloaded some of the free content we give. If not, you maybe saw it when you signed up. When we get into the Q&A section, we're going to share a link with you so that you can get more than 100 free pieces of social media, like great infographics that's going to fit to both of those categories before. And that's going to help to give you a lot of content that you don't actually need anything else new for many months to come. But even then, I want you to get into the habit of creating consistent content. Secondly, I need you to post consistently. So this is another big thing. So we will also share in the Q&A. We have a course that walks you through some of the posting information. So by all means, I mentioned an example at the event here in town. You can pull out your phone, you start to put in top of mind when I'm at a local event. I pull up my phone, I take a picture. I see a pretty door on a house. I can take a picture, share that to Instagram. Great, all wonderful ideas. But I also want you to think about things like scheduling. I know it's a scary term sometimes because social media is supposed to all be so personal, and it can still be personal because you're going to be the one doing the scheduling. But we're going to share a course with you that's going to show you how you can sit down in just one night, one day, and schedule all the content for the next month to 2 months. And we give you the tools to do that. And most of those tools are free. If you want to use some paid tools, we show you some of that. We don't make any money off of this. We're just giving you a course to show you how to do that. And then third, the foundation to be successful with social media and real estate is it needs to fit into your business, your business life. And I specify business life here because I don't want you on your phone at 9 o'clock at night when you're supposed to be spending time with your family or with your friends or taking quiet time by yourself. Like, by all means, I know real estate, business, my job, it creeps into these other things, but I want you to try to find a time where your social media really steps into your business life. Now, I mentioned it might be showing up at that event with your family where you say, just take 3 minutes and do it, but I don't want you on your phone the whole time. So with these three things, thinking about how you consistently create content, post consistently, and how you fit into your business hours, that's going to keep you top of mind for your clients without you burning out. Because I can assure you, if you try to do all of your social media posting just in your spare time, it's going to lead you to burnout more. And when you get burnout, if we don't take time in our personal lives, we can't keep our business going as well. So I was up at 4:30 this morning working out because I know that's what I need for the long-term success of my personal career and our business. Well, I couldn't do that same workout at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because I'm working then. So there's a time and place for everything. So these three are the foundations to your success. Now with that, and when we go into those, I want you to also think about, the three steps of producing, the production of content for social media. And so when a consumer sees your posts on your Facebook feed, on Pinterest, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, three different things happening beforehand. And I want you to think about these because one of the reasons that I'm so successful or have been successful is I had mentors that taught me that I needed to batch my work. And so when there are times you need to do stuff like one task after another, but I found I'm so much more efficient when I batch the same type of work. So in the case of social media, I want you to think about planning. You can open up a Google Sheet and you can put Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, every day of the week out there, spread it for the whole month. And do you want to post once a day or twice a day? And you can plan your content out. That's important. If you want to get a guide about what that could look like, I have a friend named Rachel Miller. She runs Moolah Marketing. She gives away free guides that just show people how to do that. Hold on. So that's one way of doing that. But planning. So what type of post do I want to share when? So I mentioned the Live After 5 event on Thursdays. So that would go into a Thursday slot in the evening. Not saying you need to post 10 times a day, but planning is one thing. You get into a frame of reference and you're so much more efficient. Your consumers will get a better experience when you as an agent sit down and plan your content when. And the content that we're going to give you free is going to help with that. Creating, actually using a free tool like canva.com, canva.com, or there's lots of other ones. We use tools like Visme, Promo Republic, others that are out there, but Canva is free. And to actually create any graphics that you might need. Yeah, Dwayne, thank you for sharing the post out there. If you want to click to Canva, or just come back and visit it later in the chat, it's a great tool. It's very simple. It just it gives you a blank canvas, a blank canvas. It gives you free images to post in the back there. You can add text on top of it, and so you may have taken a photo of a great looking duplex in your community. You can upload the photo if you want to and put, some sort of text on there. Export it, save it. Now you've created. Well, that's a very different process. While it might have only taken you 30 seconds to 2 minutes to create that graphic, and they have templates that show you what things could look as well. You just change out some photos and some text. Doing that all at once, it's one task you want to do repeatedly all together. You want to sit down and create 20 graphics at once. And then scheduling. Scheduling is its own task. Scheduling is the only part of this where I might say I might do during some personal time. For me, I schedule sometimes, like when we're choosing as a family to veg on Netflix, because we're already vegging. It's not like interactive time. I'm not taking away from the family. I can't really do that with planning because I'm in a frame of reference when I'm planning and creating I have to focus too much on that. But if I've already have those two steps done, it's a little bit more mindless at this point to go through and schedule. It's a key because if you don't schedule, you have to do it real time. So your life will be better if you break things into these three, and it doesn't count until it's scheduled. You could have planned it and created it, but if you don't get it posted, it doesn't count. So I want you to make sure you do that part. So how do you post? We've talked about it a little bit. There's 3 ways that you can post. You can do the scheduling post we talked about, and we'll link to that the course for showing you how to do that, showing you how to use free tools within Facebook to schedule on a Facebook and Instagram, and why you want to use those tools versus some third-party tools like a Hootsuite or a Buffer for that. Then manually posting. Well, you could just put on your calendar, hey, I want to, I'm planning it. When I go to that event, I want to make sure I pop out my phone and it's a plan. I've planned to do it. And then manually, I'm just in real life. I'm on a run, I'm on a walk, I'm driving around. I see something that I think is relevant and I want to share it. Sometimes it can be something funny. A couple weeks ago, driving, and I think it was actually against MLS terms because I shared it on a real estate group. And there was probably 30 to 40 open house signs together, leaning up, pointing into a neighborhood. I posted on a group. Some people said in their MLS that wouldn't be allowed, but it was like overkill. There was no way you could have not known that there was an open house when you drove by. I took a picture of it. I shared it in a real estate group because it was kind of funny. As an agent, I would have shared that to my feed, and I would have put some caption up about it as well. So I mentioned we've created some content for you. So we actually have a way for you to get up to 300 pieces of free content if you haven't, if you want it. So first, we have a link that in the Q&A we're going to give you, if you haven't downloaded it already, that it's going to give you a download for a zip file with 100 graphics, and you see some of those here on the right. This is things that my team sat down and we spent a lot of time and we invested a lot of money, not because it benefits us, because we're not agents, not because it benefits Showcase, but just as something that we could give back to you guys that you could use. Now, there's a small Showcase logo on some of those, but feel free to just toss it in Canva if you want to and put your logo up on the other side. But these are free for you to use however you want. Yes, James, they are free. And they fall into different categories as well. So I show some of them here on the slide, but they're real estate infographics. Like there's an example here for the top 5 reasons Americans change their homes. There's also the one in the middle and the top is what does a FICO score mean? The one on the right is where people typically find their homes. Other examples I like on here are home prices are a result of supply and demand, and it walks through some of the major pieces in there. Far left, there's 16 different types of mortgages. I mean, those of you that have dealt with a VA loan, it's very different. Well, as a VA, if somebody has served before, they usually know that a VA loan is available to them. But there's a lot of other types of mortgages that people aren't aware of. So that's actually interesting to start a conversation on. So you can just share the graphic, but you can also share it with a question about, hey, are there any of these that you qualify for, or that you might want to know more information about, or that seem weird even, and see what people say to spark a conversation. We have graphics that are real estate definitions. I mentioned an example. What's a buyer's agent? My wife has said I cannot talk to people about Zillow or buyer's agents at like barbecues or community gatherings. Thankfully, COVID, to some degree, hasn't allowed us to have some of those. But before COVID, like the previous summer, we'd be out at a barbecue and I'd ask just consumers, hey, do you know what happens when when you sign up with Zillow? What happens with your data? Kind of blows people's mind. Usually starts the conversation and says, yeah, somebody will go, I don't know why I need an agent anyways. And so I'll point out what a buyer's agent is and what the value is to them. And like everybody goes, wow, of course, I'll always use an agent next time. Well, we've got some graphics that give a definition like that and others. Such other things such as summer to the task. Like we have five different discrete buckets of things that agents do for their clients. Work from home tips, frequently asked questions for home buyers, tips for home buyers, mortgage tips, tips to boost curb appeal. There's also some quotes in there, some memes, because come on, real estate's funny and life is funny. So we want to give you some things. And then there's some videos sprinkled in there as well. Like there's a video on things to think about when you move with pets. There's an Instagram version of it, and then there's a Facebook version of it. So there's videos like that in there. And so, I see. Yeah. So let me keep going on this. So there's all of those are included in the link that we will give you in the Q&A. So that's 100 graphics right there. But I mentioned this free course that we have as well that shows you how to post and some of the benefits of posting, and continues with some of the same information I'm talking about here. It does not take long to go through. In that course, there's a download for another 200 plus. So together, that's 100 plus 200 free content. So if you post just once a day, well, that 300 piece of content, that fills 2021 for you. If you post twice a day, we've got you covered for at least 2 to 3 quarters. If you mix it in with content that you're going to create as well, you're easily through the end of the year as well. So my goal with this is not just to educate you on helping you to reach your buyers, not just when they're actively buying and selling, but also when they're not actively buying and selling. This content is going to help you with a lot of that. And I want you to think, as we're wrapping up, after this, we're going to go to some Q&A. So if you have questions, feel free to just drop them down into the chat now, and Dwayne can help us guide us through that. I know some of you sent in questions beforehand. We'll get to some of that. I want you to think about, as we lead into that, how social media fits into your successful marketing strategy overall. So it's not just because I'm at Showcase IDX. For those of you that know my background, I literally helped create some of the marketing channels that did not exist in the past. I started one of the first influencer marketing platforms. Before then, I was a senior executive at a company that literally started social media management. I owned all of our relationships with Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, LinkedIn, and we helped Facebook with their initial API so that our tools could work with them and others could work with them. So, and before then, location-based marketing. So I'm a marketer at heart. So whether or not I was at Showcase, this has been how I always coach real estate clients is you need to think about your website as the hub of all of your marketing efforts. And think about that. Especially, we're just going through social media, and social media is huge for your business. But on any day, Facebook can change things. We see it not just in a lot of the, we'll say, political sides, both on the left and the right, but where people have both sides have had discussions about Facebook changing the algorithms. But we've seen that before. How many people have been unhappy because when Facebook pages came out and you posted, everybody saw it, and then they started lowering the reach and lowering the reach and lowering the reach. Well, that happens. The same thing happened with email. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do Facebook. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do email. open rates have shifted, much lower over the decades we've had email. Well, at any time, Google could change your spam algorithm and start to deprioritize mark things as spam. It's also, we see the tabs in Gmail where it's like your inbox is promotions and social, or maybe social then promotions. Well, when Google changes that algorithm in Gmail, they own that, you don't. So we go back to what are the two most valuable assets you have? It's your personal brand and your contact database. Well, your website is something that you own. In my case, kurtuehler.com. You want to know about something about what's going on with me outside of anything related to real estate, Showcase IDX or anything? You can go to kurtuehler.com and see some of my recent speaking events as well. Well, Facebook can change our algorithm tomorrow. People that are used to hitting me up on kurtuehler.com, they know to go there. Email, I'm going to drive people back to my website. And so think about social media as part of a cohesive, successful strategy. And there are other things that you should be doing. It's just there's only so many hours in the day. So I want you to think about, you should do all of these, but also what percentage of your time should you allocate? Like print marketing is so big for so many agents. Some cases, it's something as small as business cards and a mailer here or there. Other cases, like people go really big heavy with that as well. We talked about professional networks, LinkedIn, Alignable is another one that I hear a lot of agents try, but I don't know how much I don't think it helps with consumers so much, but it does help with referrals sometimes. Consumer social networks. And I put in here things like, I know Parler's on here from last time I did it. It may or may not come back, whatever you think about that politically. I want you to think about other things. House is a social network. They consider themselves a social network. And so should you be on House some amount of your time? How about TikTok or Rumble or YouTube? You don't have to be on them all. You could, but I want you to think about that as one category of a successful marketing strategy. Community interactions, places of worship, community groups, volunteer efforts, HOA, school board, all of those are part of your marketing efforts. You should view them that way. Not that you're on your HOA or your school board to grow your real estate business, but you are an agent. So let's connect those two and use that as a feeder back to your website. Use an email address that's tied to your domain, your website, so that on your HOA board, on your school board, people are sending it. Yep, I have a Showcase IDX email. I have a Gmail email. Chances are, if you get an email from me, it'll come from an email that's at kurtuehler.com, because I'm driving people back to that. Paid media, the same thing. Yeah, it's like just getting more likes on Facebook is okay, but only if in the end you own that relationship, which is going to be at the hub of your website. And then your broker team partners, it's another huge category. I think you really need to think about how do we connect those together. When I talk, another full talk that I give sometimes is just on as an agent, and I despise Zillow because of what they do with consumer data that the consumer doesn't know about. I'm fine if a consumer knows what's happening, but when I talk to consumers typically don't know what happens with their data. So that bothers me about Zillow. And so I kind of go to agents and I'm like, God, what I would love you to do is I'd love you to partner up with a fee-based financial planner in your area. And I want you to look at how they talk about protecting their clients' data and mimic that in real estate. And then you bring that into your marketing strategy. So that's a blitz through social media, effective social media for real estate agents. I am happy to take questions.